Hello, and welcome to our channel where we explore the world of Odoo. Today we'll be exploring the Odoo Web Framework. If you're a beginner, learning about the Odoo Web Framework might seem daunting because it involves learning various subjects such as JavaScript, CSS, XML, JSON, etc. However, don't let that discourage you. While having a basic understanding of these is required, you certainly don't need to be an expert in them to start working with the Odoo Web Framework. In fact, Odoo Web Framework provides tools to make common tasks in building Odoo modules easy. For instance, it offers an ORM service for handling data interactions between the front-end and server-side Python models. And with its notification service, you can display notifications using simple function calls. For beginners, it's a good idea to familiarize yourself with using Odoo Web Framework first before trying to understand how it works internally. This video aims to help you get started. Now, let's take a closer look at what the Odoo Web Framework is all about. At the core of it, the web framework uses HTML, JavaScript, CSS styles, and XML templates. On top of these technologies, Odoo utilizes several additional libraries such as all for the component system, Luxon for handling dates and times, Chart.js for charts, Bootstrap, etc. With these components, the Odoo Web Framework provides features like the registry system, services such as ORM service, notification service, user service, etc., which are used to build Odoo apps and modules. There are a few key points to remember when using the Odoo Web Framework. Firstly, everything in Odoo uses the Odoo Web Framework. This includes modules that don't have any client-side code. In other words, no JavaScript or CSS. If your module provides a user interface, you're essentially using the Odoo Web Framework. This is crucial to remember because it means we can use the Odoo Web Framework to customize virtually everything in Odoo. Secondly, the Odoo Web Framework is implemented within the web add-in. One reason why beginners find learning Odoo challenging is due to a lack of detailed documentation. However, since Odoo is open source, you can find these details yourself by browsing through the web add-in's code, though it might be more complex for newcomers. Before we jump into the code, let's take a brief look at OWL, which is used as the component system in Odoo Web Framework. As mentioned earlier, Odoo Web Framework uses OWL to manage UI components. In essence, an OWL component is essentially a JavaScript class that represents a user interface component. To create complex modules, there are many details about OWL you'll need to learn. However, for now, it's sufficient to understand two key aspects. First, an OWL component requires an XML template to declare how it will be rendered, which follows the QWeb specification with additional directives specific to OWL, such as ton directives. Second, alongside its template system, OWL also offers a reactivity system. Simply put, it provides a way to link JavaScript code to HTML elements so that any changes made in one side are reflected automatically in the other and vice versa. Now let's begin by creating a module for working with Odoo Web Framework. As usual, we create the manifest file and the module directory and subdirectories. Then we need to create a menu for an entry point, and for now we'll just create a container component, which is also an OWL component, but it's tailored for Odoo environment. The container component is meant to be called by client action. This is why we also need to add the standard action service props as well. If we remove this props, Odoo will complain about invalid props, since Odoo Web Framework expects them. Most screens in the Odoo Web client share a common layout, a control panel at the top with buttons, and a main content zone just below it. The layout component helps us adhere to this design. Let's use it for our container template. And now we have a playground to experiment with Odoo Web Framework. One of the most common tasks when working with Odoo involves communication between the client side and server side. So, let's start there. Odoo Web Framework provides two primary methods for communicating with the server, using the ORM service or using RPC. We'll demonstrate how to use RPC first. Let's create a HTTP controller with three common route variations: routes without parameters, routes with parameters, and routes with URL variables. Next, we create some buttons to trigger these calls. There are two things to note here. Firstly, CSS classes. Odoo uses Bootstrap. meaning you can use Bootstrap CSS classes and components for your templates, as demonstrated here. Secondly, the buttons are decorated with an OWL event handler, onClick. The value of this attribute is the name of the method in the underlying OWL component that will be called when triggered. When calling a remote method using RPC, we need to provide the URL route and any optional parameters. If the parameters are URL variables, they can simply be built into the URL route as shown here. To demonstrate the ORM service, let's create a simple Odoo model first. The ORM service provides similar methods with its Python counterparts such as search, search count, create, write, unlink, etc. Using the ORM service requires declaring a variable within our component so we can use it in other methods. Please note that I declare the variable inside the setup method. This is because the useService function internally calls an OWL hook. OWL hooks need to be called inside either the setup method of a component or class fields. Let's add more buttons to demonstrate the ORM service methods. As demonstrated here, all method of the ORM service requires the model name as the first parameter. To create a record, we need to provide the model name and an array of objects which contains the field names and the corresponding values. Similar with the Python counterparts, to search records, we need to provide the name of the model, the search criteria, and optionally provide the limit, the order, and the offset for the search. To retrieve record values, we need to provide the model name, the record IDs, and the field names. The ORM service also provide other search-related methods such as search count and search read. To update record values, we have to provide the model name, the record IDs, and the field names with its new values. And to delete records, we must provide the model name and the record's IDs. To call a method of a model, we use call method of the ORM service. To use the call method, we have to provide the model name, the method name, the record ID, and the parameters if the method needs it, except for methods decorated with API.model. For these methods, we simply pass empty array for the third argument. Another common task when using Odoo Web Framework is to display message to user. We do this by using the notification service. Similar with the ORM service, we need to create a reference to it using useService inside setup method. The notification service offers a simple method with two parameters. The first parameter is the message for the notification, and the second parameter for the options for the notification. With the second parameter, we can specify the title, the notification type, whether it's a sticky notification, and we can even add buttons to the notification. Now, let's move on to displaying dialog boxes. While the notification service offers displaying messages without interrupting users' interaction, there are also times when we want to halt user activity and ask for confirmation before continuing. Odoo Web Framework provides dialog service to display dialog boxes, which we can use to do this. We also use the useService hook in the setup method to get the service reference similar with the notification service. To show a dialog, we simply call add method of the dialog service and provide the dialog component which we want to show and the options for the dialog. Odoo Web Framework provides two basic dialog components for confirmations, alert dialog and confirmation dialog. If we need a dialog with more complex layout or for more advanced use cases, we can create our own dialog component as shown here. And that's it for now. We'll explore more about Odoo Web Framework in my next video. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to my channel so you can stay up to date on my experiments and tutorials.